Chip Roy announced plans to put forth a resolution urging Vice President Harris to remove Biden under the 25th Amendment. And earlier, Speaker Mike Johnson had this to say about using that amendment.
If I were in a cabinet, in the Biden administration right now, in a cabinet, I would be having that discussion with my colleagues at the cabinet level. I would. And I think many of them, I think in their heart of hearts, they understand exactly what we do. They see exactly what we do, and we'll see what action they take.
Michael, was this just political posturing from two Republican members of Congress, including the Speaker?
I mean, it could be political posturing, but it is entirely possible that we see a vote on this down the road. Chip Roy officially filed that resolution today. It essentially calls on Vice President Kamala Harris to convene the cabinet and have a conversation about whether or not President Biden is fit to carry out the duties of the office of the presidency. Look, whether or not this gains traction, other Republicans hop on board, that all remains to be seen. I mean, this is something that just broke this morning and is still developing right now. But, nonetheless, the Speaker of the House endorsing something and saying that something should be looked at, that gives it a lot of political heft up here. Will Johnson put it on the floor? Remains to be seen. Will Chip Roy force a vote on it? Remains to be seen. But the fact that it's in the ether is just not something that the Biden campaign and the White House wants to have being discussed.
What's up, everybody? Welcome back to the channel. This is Legitical Response. And yep, my man Chip Roy coming hard to the paint. He saw the writing on the wall and decided to go ahead and read it out loud. And then decided to do a press conference on it. Oh, man, Chip Roy. Chip, if you don't know, Chip is my favorite congressman, by the way, because he has no problems whatsoever saying what needs to be said, taking the quiet part, and grabbing a megaphone and saying it out loud for everybody to hear, from the rooftops to the stage. Doesn't matter. He rails against Democrats' insanity. He rails against Republican corruption. He doesn't care who you are. If you're doing something you're not supposed to be doing, Chip Roy is going to be right there to tell you, you shouldn't be doing this, folks. But I'm loving this. Shout out to David Pakman and Brian Tyler Cohen for backing the wrong guy, essentially. You still think, serious question, do you still think that you can compare Joe Biden and Donald Trump as equals? Yeah, I'm sorry. There is no way. After that performance from last night, yeah, Joe Biden's better days are definitely behind him, and yeah, it's not looking good. Democrats are in panic mode, y'all. But I imagine they should be, right? I mean, after seeing that debate, 49.7 million people got to compare and contrast Donald Trump versus Joe Biden. I ain't gonna lie. Trump overperformed. I wasn't expecting Trump to do so well. Biden actually overperformed as well. He went above my expectations. He didn't slip up nearly as much as I thought, but one of my favorite moments from that debate was Joe Biden started slurring and stuttering. You couldn't hardly understand what he was saying, and it goes to Trump, and he says,
on the total initiative relative to what we're going to do with more Border Patrol and more asylum officers.
President Trump?
I really don't know what he said at the end of that sentence. I don't think he knows what he said either. Look, we had the safest border in the history of our country.
That was just perfect, because thank you, Donald Trump. Yes, we have been saying that for years, and all these Biden surrogates, all these people that are behind Joe Biden keep saying, no, he's fine. He may have some mental decline, but he's all there. He's sharp as a whistle. Wait, hang on, dude. A whistle isn't sharp. It's like, what is going on with these people getting behind Joe Biden? But genuinely, one of my most favorite moment was this.
President Biden?
You can see he is 6'5" and only 223 pounds, or 235 pounds. Well, you said 6'4", 200. Well, anyway, that's what you're. Anyway, just take a look at what he says he is, and take a look at what he is. Look, I'd be happy to have a driving contest with him. I got my handicap, which when I was vice president, down to a 6. But by the way, I told you before, I'm happy to play golf if you carry your own bag. Think you can do it?
That's the biggest lie. He's a 6 handicap of all.
I was an 8 handicap.
Yeah.
8.
Never.
But I have, you know how many?
I've seen you swing. I know you swing.
Let's
not act like children.
President Trump, we're going to turn.
Let's not act like children.
You are
to
a
a
child.
specific concern that voters have about you.
Caught outright in a lie, Joe Biden. Your freaking handicap is 8, not 6. Like, I don't know. It was just, I thought that was a good, genuine moment between two people that freaking hate each other, right? They hate each other. But let's get into the story before I rant on forever. All right, so Chip Roy says he'll call on Harris to remove Biden under 25th Amendment. Now, why haven't they done this before? Oh, because everybody that's backing Joe Biden seems to think he's fine. They're living in a delusion, looking at Joe Biden being like, yeah, but he's just 81 years old. Yes, that's what we have been saying. That is the problem. He's 81. He appears to have dementia. He appears like he needs to be in a nursing home, just about, right? Like, he is not somebody that appears to be the leader of the free world. Trump said it several times last night. He looks weak. He looks disrespected, because he is. Just get over it, Democrats. Please stop fighting with Republicans and pretty much everybody else on this topic. Joe Biden is way too old for this job. It's way too stressful. Trump looks spry. He doesn't look like he's slowing down whatsoever. Rep. Chip Roy introduced a resolution Friday urging Vice President Harris to convene the cabinet and declare President Biden unable to carry out the duties of the Oval Office after the Commander-in-Chief's poor debate performance last night. The announcement marks the latest fallout from CNN debate between Biden and former President Trump, during which the incumbent tripped over his words and appeared to lose his train of thought, prompting widespread concern among Democrats. How come they weren't already concerned? Like, we've been seeing this play out for the past 3 years. We've been noticing Joe Biden slowing down. And in the past year or so, it's gotten exponentially faster. We see all these slip-ups, all this time when Joe Biden just loses his train of thought. And then we'll say,
true international effort to pressure.
Anyway.
like, no, I'm sorry, that our president should not be doing that. Once again, now I know the argument from the other side of the aisle is, Donald Trump says stuff that a president shouldn't say. However, most of the time it's funny. Yeah, he is very, very crass, if you will. He says what he thinks, and it doesn't matter who's listening. I intend to put forth a resolution calling upon the VP to immediately use her powers under Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to convene and mobilize the principal officers of the cabinet to declare the at POTUS is unable to successfully discharge the duties and powers of his office, Roy wrote in a post on X. The brief resolution introduced later in the day said that Biden has repeatedly and publicly demonstrated his inability to discharge the powers and duties of the presidency, including, among others, the powers and duties of the commander-in-chief. The resolution would simply express the sense of the House and not force action from the vice president or cabinet. Roy told reporters Friday morning that, I think anybody with eyes and anybody observing objectively last night saw an individual that is not capable of carrying out the duties the commander-in-chief in a world in which we're, facing increasing dangers, he added. For those of us who follow this stuff internally, it has been very clear the declining status of the capacity of the president. But last night put it all out for all to see. Our colleagues on the other side of the aisle can't hide from it. And frankly, I don't do this through a political lens, right? I mean, I don't view it through the lens of, is the timing good and bad for what happens in November or anything else? It's just the simple fact of the matter is the President of the United States is not capable of doing the job. Unfortunately, it is not the House that gets to determine that. It's the cabinet under the Constitution, of course. It's the cabinet that makes that decision, Johnson said. Section 4 of the 25th Amendment, which has never been used, says that if the vice president and a majority of the cabinet or Congress deem the president as unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president should immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president. Whenever the vice president and a majority of either the principal officers or the executive departments or of such other body as Congress may by law provide, transmit to the president pro tempore of the Senate and the Speaker of the House of Representatives their written declaration that the president is unable to discharge the powers and duties of his office, the vice president shall immediately assume the powers and duties of the office as acting president, the amendment reads. Harris defended Biden's debate performance on CNN immediately after Thursday night's event, conceding he had a slow start by arguing he had a strong finish and had laid out a strong contrast between himself and Trump. Yes, she is right on that take, but for different reasons, right? The contrast was, yes, Trump is there. Trump was reacting, going back and forth. He had very good answers. You know, Democrats may not like those answers, but he had very good answers. He lied a lot less than Joe Biden did. Joe Biden lied. I mean, Joe Biden was bringing up long debunked hoaxes against Donald Trump, right? The bloodbath hoax, the Russia hoax, the laptop, the 51 intelligence agents or whatever. You know, the Charlottesville, the good people on both sides hoax. I mean, that one even Snopes admits. And Snopes is full of left-wing activists because they're corporate press, right? They're quote-unquote fact checkers that don't really check the facts. They twist and turn stuff, right? Like they'll say something like, you know, say Trump does a backflip on Saturday or something like that. So a Snopes headline will read, did Trump do a backflip, ... on Sunday? And then they'll go out and, you know, be paragraph after paragraph of how backflips work and, you know, is Trump even able to do a backflip and blah, 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 blah. And then right at the very end, the last paragraph, maybe even the last sentence, they'll say, yes, Trump did do a backflip on Saturday, not Sunday. It's like, come on, Snopes. They just wanted that headline that says Trump does backflip on Sunday, ... False, right? They're not fact checkers. Right? You have to read the whole thing out to get the truth. And sometimes they don't even produce the truth. It's just utter insanity coming from these people. But, you know, leave it to the corporate press. They're the ones that create these hoaxes in the first place. You know, they'll take something Trump says, yank it out of context, and put it with different context. Right? Like, no, you can't do that. Karine Jean-Pierre called that cheap fakes, but that's not even what it was, right? These cheap fakes are just videos, unedited videos. Like, we went over that and we showed you that what aired on CNN talking about the cheap fakes, and then they had the original video. Oh, look, I'll just run it. I still have that clip.
Cheap fake clips went viral on social media and were picked up by some news outlets. Take a look at this clip, for example. It shows Biden and other world leaders watching a skydiving demonstration before the president is seen walking away and looking in another direction. Outlets claimed that he was sort of just aimlessly wandering away. The clip amassed millions of views within just a few hours, when actually if you widen out, you can see that he was talking to one of the members of the military that was participating in that demonstration.
Yeah, that's just outright insane. These people, I'm sorry. These days, you have social media, you have the internet. We can go and actually check these things because some people these days are actually honest, and you can go see facts. You can go look up and see if this actually freaking happened, right? But it doesn't stop them from producing the headlines because they know that a lot of people out there will simply read the headline, maybe read the first paragraph, and that's it. And be like, oh, well, Trump said those neo-Nazis were very fine people. When in fact, he totally disavowed the neo-Nazis and said, but there was good people on both sides, except for the white supremacists and the neo-Nazi people, right? But they'll pull that out of context. And that's one reason I believe a lot of people dislike Donald Trump, because the corporate press has lied so freaking much about this guy. But then you have these people out there that have been believing these lies since freaking 2016. And it's hard for them to break that cycle. It's hard for them them to come out of that because they already have their mindset that they don't like Donald Trump for whatever reason. You know, whether it's corporate press lies or if it's because he's a billionaire or because how crass he is, how he just does and says whatever the hell he wants to, right? He says mean things, right? Like, that's the best honest criticism of Donald Trump. He says a lot of mean stuff, right? He put a lot of dumb people in his orbit. He put a lot of dumb people in his administration. But man, that dude, given the circumstances of his presidency, I think he was the best president of my lifetime. But let's go ahead and finish this story out right quick. There ain't much left. People can debate on style points, but ultimately, this election and who is the president of the United States has to be about substance. And the contrast is clear, Harris told CNN's Anderson Cooper. Look at what happened during the course of the debate. Donald Trump lied over and over again as he has want to do. On Friday, her spokesperson Ernie Apreza said Harris looks forward to serving a second term with President Joe Biden. Yeah, but she fails to admit all the times that Joe Biden lied. But you know what? What's funny about Donald Trump's lies versus Joe Biden's lies is Donald Trump was like, oh yes, yeah, we had the best approval ratings from the veterans. Yeah, that might be a lie. But Joe Biden's lies were just outright BS. Right, like I just got through ranting about. Trying to lie and say that inflation was at 9% when he came into office, that was an outright lie. There were several lies. I'm not going to go through the whole thing, but Joe Biden lied a lot more than Donald Trump. But these people, they just believe the corporate press narrative and won't look into the facts. These people spout lies. You can't buy these people's lies. It's all BS. It's all bunk, if you ask me. But objectively, Donald Trump won that debate. Subjectively, he absolutely destroyed Joe Biden. Just eviscerated Joe Biden, in my opinion. Once again, shout out to David Pakman and Brian Tyler Cohen for backing the wrong guy. Yeah, y'all did good on that, buddy. Oh, and also, shout out to Thomas Massie. I just got word his wife died. Thomas Massie is another one of my favorite congressmen. He's a really, really good congressman. He doesn't ever vote on it. Like, if you go look up his voting record, it's insane. Anything to do with appropriations or spending any money, he votes no on everything. It's crazy. I like him a lot. I like him a whole lot. He doesn't get he doesn't get on the House floor and do a lot of speeches. He's on the Judiciary Committee, I do believe. As a matter of fact, I saw him in a committee hearing the other day. He was chairman, like just pro tempore or whatever. But shout out, his wife died of 35 years. Man, that sucks. It really, really sucks. And we don't know of what yet. He hasn't posted that online, and so the public doesn't know. But send your prayers to Thomas Massie. He's going to need them. But I think I've rambled on for long enough. I think we get the point. I think we understand. But we all also know that, Kamala Harris isn't going to convene the cabinet, and they're not going to implement, Section 4 of the 25th Amendment to take Joe Biden out of office, right? They're going to continue to run this guy. It's elder abuse at this point, and I think these people should really take a deep, long look at themselves in the mirror and say, is this the right choice to run this senior citizen, a guy that should be relaxing, he should be in a retirement home? So, even Trump said last night, he would not have ran if it wasn't for how bad Joe Biden's administration actually is. And I think I believe him on that because, once again, he doesn't have to be doing all this. He didn't have to put himself in the crosshairs and get, 94 indictments against him? Yeah, he could have avoided all of that by just going quietly into that good night. But he didn't want to do that. A lot of people talk about Donald Trump is only self-serving, right? Everything he does is only in his own interests, right? But you know what I say to that? That may be true. You never know. But if he does that, and it makes America great again, which is what he's trying to do, right? Like, if making America great again makes himself look better, and that's the reason he's doing it, who cares? Right? It's making the country run better. It's booming the economy. It's making us strong again, right? It's closing off our borders, making us more safe, right? It's all in the betterance of the country. Who cares if Donald Trump benefits from those actions? Who cares if that was his only motivation for those actions? Who cares? It's making the country better. But like I said, I've rambled on for long enough. Y'all let me know what y'all think about all this down in the comment section. That's all I got for this one. I want to thank everybody for watching, and y'all try to have a good day and stay legitical. Peace.